Imagine holding the wisdom of thousands in your hands. Just a few pages a day, and your world could transform. This isn't just about books. It's about unlocking the mind, one word at a time. Think about this. Warren Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading. Bill Gates finishes a book a week. Elon Musk? He learned how to build rockets from books. They all read. Not for show, but because reading gives them something the world can't take away: knowledge, vision, power. But here's the real question. If books are the common thread among the world's smartest minds, why aren't you holding that thread too? In a world where people scroll through noise, smart people sit in silence and absorb insight. They grow while others gossip. They lead while others lag. Science backs this up. Reading strengthens neural pathways, improves empathy, expands vocabulary, and even helps prevent cognitive decline. It's not just for your brain, it's for your soul. Still think reading is boring? Then maybe you've been reading the wrong things, or maybe no one ever told you that books are actually mirrors. They reflect who you are and who you can become. So in this journey ahead, I'm going to take you through 20 powerful reasons why smart people read books daily, and why you should too. Each one will open your eyes. Each one is a step closer to a smarter, stronger, and better you. Let's begin. 1. Books are time machines to genius minds. Imagine sitting face to face with the world's greatest minds, Einstein, Steve Jobs, or Maya Angelou, and soaking in their wisdom. That's what books offer. Every time you read, you connect with brilliant thinkers across centuries. Reading isn't just learning, it's time travel into genius. Warren Buffett once advised, read 500 pages a day. That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. He spends most of his day reading, not because he's bored, but because he's sharpening his greatest tool, his mind. And the results? He's not just one of the richest men alive, but also one of the wisest. Scientifically, books are brain boosters. A study at Emory University found that reading a novel increases connectivity in the brain, especially in regions related to language and empathy. That means books don't just make you smarter, they make you more human. And here's a question for you. When was the last time a social media scroll changed your life? Now ask yourself when a powerful book made you rethink everything. That's the difference. Books stay, they shape. So next time you feel stuck or confused, pick up a book. It might just be the mentor your mind's been waiting for. 2. Books are time machines to genius minds. Imagine sitting face to face with the world's greatest minds, Einstein, Steve Jobs, or Maya Angelou, and soaking in their wisdom. That's what books offer. Every time you read, you connect with brilliant thinkers across centuries. Reading isn't just learning, it's time travel into genius. Warren Buffett once advised, read 500 pages a day. That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. He spends most of his day reading, not because he's bored, but because he's sharpening his greatest tool, his mind. And the results? He's not just one of the richest men alive, but also one of the wisest. Scientifically, books are brain boosters. A study at Emory University found that reading a novel increases connectivity in the brain, especially in regions related to language and empathy. That means books don't just make you smarter, they make you more human. And here's a question for you. When was the last time a social media scroll changed your life? Now ask yourself when a powerful book made you rethink everything. That's the difference. Books stay. They shape. So next time you feel stuck or confused, pick up a book. It might just be the mentor your mind's been waiting for. 3. Readers are better leaders. Leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's not about giving orders or holding a title. True leadership is about vision, empathy, decision-making, and the ability to inspire others. And what's one habit that almost all great leaders share? They read. A lot. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Born into poverty with very little access to formal education, Lincoln found his power through books. He taught himself by reading law, history, politics. His speeches, known for their clarity and depth, were shaped by the knowledge he gained from reading widely. His leadership during America's darkest times didn't come from natural talent. It came from continuous learning. Barack Obama once said, "At a time when everything around you is going fast, reading slows you down and gives you perspective." As president, he often turned to books to stay grounded, to understand the people he served, and to see issues from all sides. His leadership was marked by thoughtfulness, something that grows through deep reading. And then there's Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison but never stopped reading. Books became his companions, his source of strength, and his strategy for hope. He read literature, politics, philosophy, and emerged not bitter, but wiser, more prepared to unite a divided nation. That's the kind of transformation only books can bring. But it's not just history. Modern science backs this up. A study from the New School for Social Research found that reading literary fiction significantly improves a person's theory of mind, the ability to understand others' beliefs, emotions, and perspectives. This isn't just academic. It's the foundation of emotional intelligence, and it's what makes someone a truly great leader. Books offer lessons you don't have to learn the hard way. They show you how others failed, got up, and tried again. They teach you to navigate conflict, to listen better, and to lead with heart. So ask yourself, do you want to lead in your family, your workplace, your community? Then begin by leading your own mind. Feed it with the wisdom of those who've already walked the path. Learn their stories, study their struggles, read like a leader, because the best leaders in the world were once readers who simply wanted to grow. And you can start that journey today, one page at a time. Reading boosts creativity and innovation. What do Steve Jobs, J.K. Rowling, and Leonardo da Vinci have in common? They were all wildly creative, and they were all devoted readers. Reading doesn't just make you smart, it sparks your imagination. It helps you think differently, connect unrelated ideas, and see possibilities where others see limits. In short, reading feeds your creativity and fuels innovation. When you read, especially fiction or visionary nonfiction, you're exposed to new worlds, bold ideas and perspectives far beyond your everyday life. This fuels a powerful brain process called associative thinking, the ability to combine ideas in new, meaningful ways. It's the foundation of innovation. The more diverse your input, the more original your output. Steve Jobs, the mastermind behind Apple, once shared how studying calligraphy at college, something completely unrelated to computers, later inspired the elegant font system in the first Macintosh. He also read deeply into Zen Buddhism and philosophy, shaping his minimalist design approach and creative decision-making. His story proves innovation isn't always technical. Sometimes it starts in a book. Science supports this too. A study published in the Creativity Research Journal found that people who read regularly, especially fiction, perform significantly better on creativity tests. Reading forces your brain to imagine, predict, and synthesize. It's like rehearsing your imagination, giving your creativity a daily workout. Now think of J.K. Rowling. She wasn't a literary genius overnight. She struggled with rejection, depression, and financial stress. But she was also a lifelong reader. From mythology to fairy tales to Shakespeare, her mind was filled with imaginative seeds. One train ride later, those seeds bloomed into the magical world of Harry Potter. Her imagination wasn't luck. It was well-fed. Reading gives you tools, not just words but worlds. You learn how to build characters, solve puzzles, think beyond limits. Whether you're an entrepreneur, artist, teacher, or just someone seeking purpose, reading can help you unlock ideas that are waiting inside you. So ask yourself, when was the last time you felt creative? Do you feel stuck or repetitive in your thinking? Then break the loop. Pick up a book that challenges you, not just a guidebook or how-to, but something bold, something unexpected. Because sometimes the next big idea is hidden between the lines of a book you haven't read yet. 5. Books give you inner peace and mental clarity. In today's noisy world, silence has become rare, and peace even rarer. We're constantly bombarded with notifications, comparisons, expectations. Our minds are always racing, always chasing. But when you open a book, something shifts. Time slows down, noise fades, and suddenly you find yourself breathing differently. Reading creates a sacred space, a pocket of calm in the middle of chaos. It lets you step away from reality and enter a world where your mind can rest, reflect, and realign. Unlike social media or streaming platforms that throw 1,000 things at you, a book invites you into one thing, a story, a lesson, an idea, deeply and gently. Consider the life of Mahatma Gandhi. He was not just a political leader, he was a spiritual one. And he was a reader. He read the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran, and the writings of Tolstoy. These books helped him build inner strength and mental clarity in the middle of political storms and social unrest. They gave him a compass, a moral direction that shaped an entire movement. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts settle when you're lost in a good book? Your heartbeat slows, your breathing deepens, and your focus sharpens. That's not magic. That's mindfulness in action. You're not reacting, scrolling, or stressing. You're simply present. And in today's world, that's a superpower. Books also help you sort through your own feelings. When you read about someone else's pain, journey, or transformation, you start to understand your own better. You begin to ask, what am I running from? What do I truly need? What matters most? Inner peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of clarity. And clarity often comes through quiet reflection. Books give you that space. They don't shout at you. They speak with you. Sometimes they whisper the answers you've been too busy to hear. So if life feels heavy, if your heart feels cluttered, or if your mind is always in a rush, take a break. Not to escape, but to reconnect. Pick up a book. Let it slow you down, calm your storms, and guide you back to yourself. Because sometimes peace isn't found in the world around you. It's found in the pages waiting patiently on your shelf. 6. Books help you discover who you truly are. In a world full of noise, opinions, and expectations, it's easy to forget who you are. You follow trends, you follow people, and you forget to follow yourself. But books, real, meaningful books, can lead you back home. They help you rediscover your values, your purpose, and your voice. When you read someone's story, someone who went through pain, change, struggle, and growth, it becomes a mirror. You begin to reflect. You start asking, who am I when no one's watching? What do I want from life, not just for survival, but for fulfillment? One of the most powerful examples of this comes from Malala Yousafzai. As a young girl in Pakistan, she found inspiration in books like The Diary of Anne Frank. Through reading, she connected with people who faced oppression, and it gave her courage to fight for education. Even when the world tried to silence her, books reminded her of who she truly was, a voice that mattered. Reading introduces you to characters with dreams, regrets, ambitions, and fears, just like yours. And through them, you find fragments of yourself. You realize your pain is not yours alone. Others have walked through fire and made it out stronger. So can you. Books also strip away the false layers, the ego, the comparison, the insecurity. They replace noise with wisdom. In a world telling you who you should be, books help you listen to who you already are. That's not just powerful, it's transformative. And here's the beauty. You don't need the perfect book to start. Sometimes a line in a story, a moment in a biography, or a sentence in a journal can hit you so deeply, it feels like the author knew your soul. So if you're feeling lost, unsure, or disconnected, don't search outside. Search within. And one of the best ways to do that is to pick up a book that speaks to the journey you're on, or the one you long to begin. Because the most important journey you'll ever take is the one back to yourself. 7. Reading builds emotional resilience. Life isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be. We all face heartbreak, disappointment, failure, and moments of loneliness. But what makes the difference between someone who breaks and someone who bends and grows stronger? It's emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back. And reading, surprisingly, is a quiet but powerful builder of that inner strength. When you read, you don't just consume stories. You live through the eyes of others. You experience loss, triumph, fear, and transformation, all without leaving your chair. And every time you walk with a character through pain, something inside you prepares for your own. Take Viktor Frankl, for example. A Holocaust survivor and the author of Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl used his mind and his memory of books and philosophy to survive the darkest conditions imaginable. His story is now read by millions who draw hope and strength from his words. One reader said, "This book helped me survive my depression." That's the power of resilience passed from page to person. Reading stories of survival reminds you that pain is part of being human. But so is recovery. When you see characters who are rejected, abandoned, or betrayed, and yet find their way back to hope, you start believing you can too. Even fiction builds this capacity. When you emotionally engage with a character, your brain releases oxytocin, the empathy hormone. This deepens your emotional experience and makes you more prepared to face your own emotional storms. Reading also gives you language for your emotions. So many people suffer silently because they don't know how to name what they feel. But books give you those words. They make you say, "That's exactly how I feel." And in that moment, you feel less alone. So if life has shaken you, if you've been through losses, or if you're holding pain quietly, pick up a book that's walked that road. It won't fix everything, but it will help you breathe again. Books don't always offer solutions, but they offer strength, and sometimes that's all you need. 8. Books teach you how to handle failure. Gracefully, failure is one of life's toughest teachers. It breaks plans, shatters confidence, and sometimes even questions your worth. But do you know what separates successful people from the rest? It's not that they fail less, it's that they recover better. And one of the best ways to learn how to handle failure is by reading the stories of those who already did. Books let you peek into the lives of real people who faced massive setbacks. Business icons, artists, athletes, people who lost everything but still stood up again. When you read their stories, failure stops being a wall and starts looking like a lesson. Take Thomas Edison, for instance. He failed over 1,000 times while inventing the light bulb. But in his words, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset didn't come from thin air. It came from exposure to ideas, learning from the past, and refusing to see failure as final. Books like The Alchemist, Shoe Dog, or Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins show how failure is often the beginning of transformation. You'll find people who got rejected, humiliated, or told they weren't good enough. And yet, they persisted. Reading these stories trains your mind to see beyond the fall. When you see someone else's rock bottom in print, it softens the weight of your own. You start asking, if they could bounce back, why can't I? And suddenly, failure doesn't seem like the end. It feels like a step. Reading also gives you strategies. Whether it's how to rethink your goals, rebuild your mindset, or reframe your losses, the tools are already written down. All you need to do is find them. So next time life knocks you down, don't drown in silence. Reach for a book. Let someone else's comeback story fuel your own. Let their strength remind you of yours. Because failure doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're about to grow. And books can show you how. 9 books help you become a better communicator. We often think communication is just about speaking clearly. But true communication is much deeper. It's about expressing your thoughts with impact, understanding others with empathy, and building trust through your words. And one of the most powerful ways to build this skill is by reading regularly. When you read, especially well-written literature or biographies, you're exposed to rich vocabulary, thoughtful expressions, and precise storytelling. Your brain naturally absorbs these patterns. Over time, you start to speak and write more clearly, more confidently, and with greater emotional power. Think of legendary speakers like Martin Luther King Jr. or Barack Obama. Their speeches weren't just powerful because of tone or delivery. It was their choice of words. And where did those words come from? A lifetime of reading. They read speeches, poetry, history, and philosophy, and that gave depth to their voice. Books teach you how to say important things in simple ways. You begin to understand the rhythm of good writing, the emotion behind dialogue, the strength of silence. These are not grammar rules, they're life skills. Reading also helps you connect with people from all walks of life. Whether it's understanding a different culture, a different struggle, or a different dream, books help you build bridges. And that's the foundation of good communication, connection. Even if you're introverted or shy, reading can be your secret power. You may not always be the loudest voice in the room, but you'll be the one who says things that matter. Your words will carry weight because they come from a place of thoughtfulness, and people feel that. So if you've ever felt like people don't understand you, or you struggle to express your heart, start reading. Not just textbooks or manuals, but books with soul. Fiction, memoirs, letters, essays. They'll give you language for things you've felt but couldn't say. The more you read, the more clearly you think, and the clearer your thoughts, the stronger your voice. 10. Books give you the courage to dream. Somewhere along the way, many people stop dreaming. Maybe they failed once, maybe someone laughed at their ideas, maybe life got too hard, and dreams felt like a luxury they couldn't afford anymore. But books, they gently take your hand and say, "It's still possible." Every great achievement begins as a dream, and when you read the lives of dreamers who turned impossibility into reality, you start to believe you can do the same. Books are filled with underdogs, visionaries, and rebels, people who didn't wait for permission to dream big. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. Born into poverty, abused as a child, told she would never make it on television. Yet she became one of the most powerful voices in media. How? She credits books as one of her greatest companions. Oprah says, "Books were my pass to personal freedom. They helped her expand her mind beyond her circumstances. Books introduce you to people who defy the odds. You meet a young wizard who defeats evil, a poor farmer who builds a windmill, a dropout who creates a billion-dollar company. These stories may be fiction or real, but either way, they remind you that your dream doesn't have to make sense to others. It just has to matter to you. When you read, your mind opens up to what's possible. You're no longer stuck in the limits of your environment or background. You start asking, why not me? Why not now? That's how big dreams begin, with belief. Books also show you the path. You see the struggle behind success, the sacrifices behind the spotlight, and that prepares you. Because dreaming is easy, but staying committed to your dream takes courage, and courage comes from knowing you're not alone. So if your dreams feel too distant, or your goals feel too big, don't shrink them. Feed them. Pick up a book that stretches your thinking, that stirs your soul. Let it awaken the version of you who still believes. Because the world doesn't need more realistic people. It needs more dreamers who dare to make dreams real. 11. Reading teaches patience in a world obsessed with speed. We live in a fast-forward culture. 1-minute videos, instant messaging, same-day delivery. Everything is now, now, now. But personal growth, deep understanding, real relationships, these things can't be rushed, and that's where reading becomes a radical act of patience. Books ask you to slow down, to sit with ideas, to follow a story from beginning to end. There's no instant payoff, no flashing lights, just quiet pages filled with meaning, waiting for your attention. And in that slowness, something magical happens. You start to grow roots. Reading trains your mind to stay present. Instead of jumping from one notification to another, you commit to a journey. You stay. You focus. And that builds mental endurance, a quality more rare and valuable today than ever before. Think about someone planting a tree. They water it daily, even though it takes years to grow. Reading is the same. Every page is a drop. Every book is a seed. And over time, it shapes your thinking, your emotions, your worldview. Consider Nelson Mandela again. While in prison, he read constantly. Books became his way of passing time. But more than that, they became his teachers. He once said, Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. But education doesn't happen in an instant. It happens patiently, over time. Reading also helps you appreciate nuance. In a world full of hot takes and headlines, books remind you that life is complex. People are layered. Truth isn't always obvious. And when you learn to sit with complexity without demanding quick answers, you become wiser. This patience translates into your real life. You become more thoughtful in conversations, more calm during chaos, and more grounded when things don't go your way. Reading teaches you that everything doesn't have to happen fast. It just has to happen deeply. So if life feels rushed, noisy, and hollow, pick up a book. Slow down. Let the words sink in. Let the story unfold. Trust that some of the most beautiful things in life can't be rushed. Because while the world is running, readers are rising. One patient page at a time. 12. Books give you access to lifelong mentors. Not everyone has access to great teachers, wise mentors, or inspiring role models, but everyone has access to books. And inside those books are the voices of people who failed, succeeded, learned, and transformed, waiting to guide you. Books are like having a personal conversation with someone who's been where you want to go. They let you sit at the feet of giants, thinkers, leaders, artists, survivors, and learn from their experience without having to live it all yourself. Imagine being mentored by Maya Angelou, Nelson Mandela, or Elon Musk. Sounds impossible, right? But their thoughts, values, and life lessons are preserved forever in words. When you read their stories, you're not just learning facts. You're absorbing mindsets, values, and decision-making patterns that shaped greatness. Take Benjamin Franklin. He didn't have a formal mentor to teach him science, diplomacy, or writing. So he turned to books. He read deeply, took notes, rewrote essays in his own words, and became a self-taught genius. Later in life, he even created one of the world's first lending libraries because he believed in the mentoring power of books. Books also offer something rare: honesty. Unlike many people who filter their stories or hold back hard truths, books often tell it all. You read about failures, heartbreaks, doubts, and breakthroughs. These mentors don't hide their scars. They share them to help you grow. And unlike real-life mentors, books are always available. They don't cancel meetings. They don't judge your questions. They meet you where you are, whether you're ready to conquer the world or just trying to get through the day. So if you've ever felt like no one understands you, no one is guiding you, or no one is ahead of you on the path, look again. The mentors you need may already be waiting on your shelf. You don't have to walk this journey alone. Let books walk beside you. 13. Books make you brave in your own story. We all face battles, some seen, some hidden. Fear, self-doubt, rejection, failure, these are chapters in every life. But sometimes, when you read about someone else's struggle, you suddenly feel less alone, and that feeling gives you courage. Books don't just tell stories, they remind you that you're living one too. And just like the heroes you read about, you have choices. You can hide, quit, or rise. The pages whisper, "You're stronger than you think." Take Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love. After a devastating divorce and deep depression, she set off on a journey through Italy, India, and Indonesia, searching for healing. Her book became a global phenomenon not because she was perfect, but because she was honest. Her courage to explore, fall apart, and rebuild gave millions permission to do the same. When you read someone's raw truth, you begin to honor your own. You start saying, if they can go through that and still stand tall, maybe I can too. That's not just hope, that's bravery being born inside you. Books also remind you that fear is part of the process. Every hero faces a dark night. Every winner once thought they'd lose, but they kept going. When you see that pattern enough times in enough books, you begin to internalize it. You start facing your own fears differently. You may not fight dragons or climb mountains, but maybe you're fighting for your dream, your healing, your voice. And that fight matters. Books help you see your life as a story still being written, and that means anything is still possible. So the next time life feels overwhelming, open a book. Let someone else's bravery light up your own. Let their words become the fire that keeps you walking, one step at a time, because you're the hero of your own story. And books are here to remind you not to give up before the victory page. 14. Books teach you empathy without judgment. In a divided world where people are quick to judge and slow to understand, empathy has become a rare skill. But it's one of the most powerful forces for connection, healing, and change. And few things develop empathy better than reading. When you read a book, you step into someone else's shoes. You feel their pain, joy, doubt, and dreams. Whether it's a single mother fighting to survive, a child lost in war, or someone battling inner demons, their story becomes a part of you, and that softens your heart. Unlike headlines or arguments on social media, books give you time. Time to listen, time to reflect, time to understand the why behind someone's actions. And in that process, you begin to realize that people are not just their mistakes or labels, they're layered, complex, and human. Just like you. Take Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. Through the eyes of a young girl, we see the pain of racial injustice, the value of compassion, and the deep truth that you can't really understand someone until you've walked around in their skin. That message has shaped generations of readers, not by preaching, but by storytelling. Even fantasy or science fiction builds empathy. Books like The Kite Runner, Wonder, or A Man Called Ove help readers feel the struggles of people very different from themselves, and yet discover that human pain and love are universal. Empathy isn't weakness. It's strength in its most graceful form. It helps you build relationships, lead with kindness, and navigate conflict with calm. And books train your heart to grow that muscle. So the next time you find it hard to understand someone, maybe a parent, a friend, or even yourself, pause. Pick up a story. It might not give you answers, but it will help you ask better questions. Because the more you read, the more you see people not as others, but as mirrors of your own soul. 15. Books are a safe place. When life feels unsafe, sometimes life feels too loud, too cruel, too uncertain. In those moments, it's easy to feel lost, small, or even broken. But books, they quietly offer shelter. A safe space where your mind can breathe, your heart can heal, and your soul can rest. Reading isn't always about learning or growing. Sometimes it's simply about escaping, not to avoid life, but to survive it. A well-told story can be a soft blanket on a hard day. A book can become your friend when no one else seems to understand. Ask anyone who has battled loneliness, depression, or grief. Many will say, "Books saved me." And they're not exaggerating. Books don't argue with you. They don't walk away. They sit with you in silence. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. Take Matt Haig, author of Reasons to Stay Alive. In his darkest moments, he turned to books. Reading didn't cure his depression overnight, but it gave him strength to hold on. Later, he wrote his own books, which now comfort thousands of others walking through similar darkness. Sometimes fiction offers more comfort than facts. You read about someone going through a storm, and suddenly your storm feels more survivable. You read about healing, and it feels like hope. You realize you're not alone, even if no one around you understands. Books offer a sense of control. In a chaotic world, you choose the story. You turn the page. You decide when to pause and when to continue. That quiet control can be grounding when everything else feels unstable. So when life gets too heavy, don't be ashamed to hide in a book. It's not weakness. It's self-care. It's giving your heart a break so it can come back stronger. Because sometimes the safest place in the world isn't a location. It's a paragraph that understands you better than people ever could. 16. Books help you think independently. We live in a world full of noise, news, influencers, algorithms, opinions. It's easy to get swept away by what everyone else thinks, but the power to think clearly, critically, and independently is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. And books help you build that power. Reading teaches you how to pause and reflect. Instead of reacting instantly to what someone says, you start questioning, is this true? Does it make sense? Do I agree? And that internal dialogue, that habit of thinking for yourself, is what creates a strong, wise mind. Books introduce you to ideas that challenge the norm. They show you the other side of the story. They present philosophies that may feel uncomfortable but necessary. From 1984 by George Orwell to Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, you begin to explore how people think, how power works, and how truth can be twisted if you're not careful. The greatest thinkers in history, from Socrates to Galileo to Malcolm X, all read deeply. Why? Because they didn't want their minds to be controlled by society, religion, or politics. They wanted to ask their own questions, and books helped them do that. Real freedom isn't just physical, it's mental, and mental freedom comes from having the tools to think for yourself. Books offer those tools. They won't always tell you what to think, but they'll help you understand how to think. So next time you feel pressure to conform, to follow, to agree, pause. Pick up a book that challenges you. It might not make you popular, but it'll make you powerful. Because the more you read, the more you become the author of your own mind. 17. Books turn. Waiting time into growing time. Life makes us wait. In traffic, in lines, in seasons. You wait for success, for answers, for someone to understand you. And while waiting can feel frustrating, it doesn't have to be wasted. Books have the power to turn those empty moments into meaningful ones. Instead of scrolling endlessly or feeling stuck, imagine pulling out a book. Suddenly, that 10-minute wait at the bus stop becomes a spark of insight. That quiet evening becomes an investment in your mind. That lonely hour becomes a deep conversation with a great thinker. Successful people don't always have more time. They use time differently. They see every waiting room, commute, or coffee break as a chance to grow. They read while others scroll. They learn while others complain. And over time, that choice makes all the difference. Take Ryan Holiday, author of The Daily Stoic. He constantly talks about filling the cracks of time with reading. He carries a book everywhere. in his bag, in his car, on his phone. And that habit has helped him write best-selling books, build companies, and mentor thousands without rushing through life. Books are portable wisdom. You don't need a perfect setup or a quiet library. Just a few minutes of reading daily can change how you think, feel, and act. 5 pages a day may not seem like much, but over a year, that's over 1,800 pages, the size of 5 to 7 full books. That's progress. So instead of saying, "I don't have time to read," try saying, "How can I turn my waiting time into growing time?" Carry a book. Download one on your phone. Make reading your quiet revolution. Because while others waste their moments, readers are preparing for theirs. 18. Books strengthen your focus in a distracted world. In an age where attention spans are shorter than ever, the ability to focus is becoming rare and valuable. We're surrounded by distractions, buzzing notifications, endless scrolling, breaking news, and constant multitasking. But books offer a quiet rebellion. They train your brain to focus deeply, and that's a game changer. Reading a book is not like watching a video or swiping through social media. It requires commitment. You can't skim and still understand the depth. You have to sit, concentrate, and absorb. And every time you do that, you're building your mental muscles, especially focus, patience, and discipline. Think about top performers in business, sports, or science. One of their common traits? The ability to concentrate for long periods. That ability doesn't come from multitasking. It comes from practicing deep work. And reading is one of the best forms of mental training for deep work. Consider Bill Gates. He's known to take reading retreats, where he isolates himself for days just to read and think. Why? Because he understands that focused reading leads to clearer thinking, and clearer thinking leads to better decisions. Even neuroscience supports this. Reading stimulates the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for attention control and decision-making. That means the more you read, the stronger your focus becomes. And in a world that rewards those who can stay calm and attentive, that gives you a serious edge. Books are like a quiet gym for your mind. No noise, no flash, just growth. The more you train, the more your mind learns to ignore distractions and stay with one thing at a time. So if you find it hard to concentrate, if you're always jumping between tasks, if your brain feels foggy, don't panic. Just pick up a book. Start with 5 pages, then 10, then more. Slowly but surely, you'll take your focus back. Because in a distracted world, focused minds stand tall. 19. Books make you a lifelong learner. School may end, but learning never should. The most successful, fulfilled, and adaptable people on earth have one thing in common. They never stop learning. And books are their favorite classroom. Learning through books is different than learning through formal education. It's self-directed, it's curiosity-driven, and that makes it more powerful. You're not studying for grades, you're learning for life, for growth, for joy. Every book you read adds something to you. A new idea, a new strategy, a new way of seeing the world. Whether it's a biography, a novel, a science book, or spiritual text, reading keeps you fresh, open, and evolving. Take Elon Musk, for instance. He didn't become an expert in rockets or engineering through college degrees. He read books. He taught himself complex subjects by diving deep into technical manuals, physics texts, and historical accounts. And today, he's sending satellites into space. Books also help you connect dots across fields. You might read about psychology one day and marketing the next. and suddenly an idea clicks that no one else thought of. That's how innovators are born, by becoming learners, not specialists trapped in one box. Lifelong learners adapt faster, solve problems better, and stay relevant no matter how the world changes. When the job market shifts, when technology evolves, when the economy shakes, readers rise because they're always learning. And here's the best part. You don't need a mentor, a course, or permission. You just need a book. Maybe even just 15 minutes a day. Over time, that habit compounds into wisdom. So ask yourself, are you still learning? Or did you stop after school? Because the truth is, the most important lessons in life often come after the classroom, and they're waiting for you inside books. Be a student forever. Be curious always. Let every book be a step in your evolution. Because life doesn't reward those who once knew. It rewards those who keep growing. 20. Books remind you that you're not alone. There are moments in life when you feel like no one understands you. Maybe you're battling anxiety, grief, rejection, or a dream that no one believes in. In those moments, it's easy to feel invisible, like your pain is unique, your voice unheard, and your journey lonely. But then, you pick up a book, and everything changes. You read a story, and suddenly, someone else has felt what you feel. Someone else has cried the same tears, wrestled with the same doubts, walked through the same fire. And even though you've never met them, you feel seen. You feel heard. You feel less alone. Books connect you across time, space, and culture. You might read the diary of someone from a war zone, or a letter from a philosopher centuries ago, or the journal of a teenager going through heartbreak, and realize human pain and hope are universal. Take Anne Frank, a young girl hiding during the Holocaust. Her words, written in a secret attic decades ago, still touch millions. Why? Because her fear, her hope, her longing, they're all things we still feel today. Her story reminds readers, even in the darkest times, you're not alone. Even fiction does this. When you see a character wrestle with guilt, fall in love, lose a parent, or chase a dream, you connect. Their story becomes part of your own healing. And that connection is powerful. Books are quiet companions. They don't fix your problems, but they walk with you through them. They whisper, "I've been there too," in ways people sometimes can't. So if you're feeling isolated, misunderstood, or lost, find a book that speaks your language. It might be the bridge that brings you back to connection with yourself and with the world. Because in the pages of a book, you may just find the friend your heart has been searching for. Let's pause for a moment. You've just journeyed through 20 powerful reasons why reading isn't just a habit. It's a life-changing tool, a source of courage, clarity, growth, connection, and transformation. And yet maybe you haven't read in a while. Maybe you've been too busy, too distracted, too overwhelmed. That's okay. Life gets noisy, but this is your gentle reminder. Books are still here, waiting patiently, like old friends with open arms. Reading isn't about finishing 100 books a year. It's about letting one sentence change the way you see yourself. It's about finding the right story at the right time, the one that lights up something deep inside you. So choose a book, any book, a memoir, a novel, a guide, a poem, anything that speaks to your soul. Keep it near. Open it when you're tired, confused, hopeful, or lost. Because your mind, it deserves to grow. Your heart, it deserves to feel. Your life, it deserves to be deeply lived. And books will help you do just that. You don't have to be a genius, a scholar, or a philosopher. You just have to be willing to turn the first page. Now tell me, which book will you pick up first?